Okay, so today's articles. Take a look at this headline. Publish names of 65 lakh excluded voters, says the Supreme Court to the Election Commission. Along with this, we will see the article that is there in this page. This one. Okay. This article and the headline should be read in tandem, and that's why it's very important. Before we begin, just one quick update. So, people were expecting some change in the way civil service examination would be held because there was a committee which sought a reply, and people were anticipating, okay, some changes will come up. Unfortunately or fortunately, no such thing happened. UPSC said that we can't declare keys before results, and it's status quo. Anyway, let's begin. Published names of 65 lakh excluded voters and principle of harm. Okay, to understand this, I will begin with a concept of natural justice. I don't want to bring in new terminology, etc., without giving a context. So, concept will be explained first, and then we will get back to the news. Clear? What is natural justice? Anyone? Principle of natural justice. What is justice? Justice? Yes. Fairness. Okay. Justice means fairness. What is fairness? Level playing field. Okay. Let's say there is a conflict between two parties A and B. Define fairness when you are hearing. Yes. What is considered a fair process when you are listening to both the sides? Neutrality. So you are being neutral and you are saying you're just not taking any action. What is neutrality? Absence of bias. Okay. What if you're not even hearing? Is it considered to be fair? So, step number one of fairness is being heard. And this is called the principle of audi alteram partem. Don't have to remember the Latin version, but being heard. Okay? That is the first facet of justice. When you are in a court and two parties are arguing, it's only fair when you pass a judgment or use your official capacity to impact the lives of the people or the parties only after both the sides are heard. This is point number one. Point number two. Can a party who is there in that conflict pass a judgment in this case? Nobody is allowed to be a judge of their own case. This is the second principle. To be the judge of their own case. Correct? This two facets together constitute the idea of natural justice. Natural justice is a framework of thought which wants to treat any conflict fairly because the underlying assumptions or the underlying principles govern how human beings think, and it is so natural to us that it cannot be questioned. Right? It is illogical to question this two assumptions, and that's why they're called the principles of natural justice. In an individual versus the state, the social contract, do you think these principles apply? These principles apply or not? No. Anyone? How many of you think it's a no? How many of you think it's no? If they don't apply, let's say state unilaterally imposes a rule and you are not even being heard, you are getting impacted. The state says, see, for example, police represent the institution of police, represent the state. They go to an individual and say, you are a murderer. and you're not heard, you're thrown in jail and you're put to death sentence. Is it fair? Now tell me, is it applicable in a relation between individual and the state? Yes or no? Yes. Nobody is allowed to be the judge of their own case. Same example. Police says that this person has murdered. Can the police themselves absolve of their accusation and say that whatever we are saying is right? Obviously no. Can an individual decide that no, they are making a false accusation and they should not be allowed to do that, so it is wrong? Can they say that? If you are a part of the conflict, how can you decide? You obviously feel like you are right, and that's why conflict is happening. Now apply this thinking to the conversation between Election Commission of India and a voter whose name is taken out of the list. You are a voter whose name is out of the list. Now you are not a part of the list, voter list. What does it essentially mean? You do not have any say in this democracy. Party B here is the Election Commission of India, which said that I am deleting your name. What is the argument of Election Commission here? What are they saying? They'll say that, boss, we gave you some time. We asked you to provide some documents. You're not providing it, so we'll remove it. Now the question is it addressed to an individual? Is it, say, for example, Vikas? We are speaking from Election Commission of India. We are writing this letter to seek documentation. Please see if there are any of these 11 documents to prove your voter ID and enfranchisement. Otherwise, your name will be removed from the list. Did you send any individualized notice like this? No. You just put it in a public newspaper which nobody reads and said that if you don't come to the booth level and submit your documents, we will remove your vote. What if the person did not see the newspaper on that day because of some issue? So it means that their opportunity is gone. Right? Now, does this feel fair? It is not fair on this parameter itself. I deserve to be represented in a court, or I deserve to be heard. See, you raised a discrepancy and said that there is something wrong. At least I deserve to give an explanation as to why I think that I'm right or wrong. I might be having that document or I might not be having that document, but do it after informing me, and that is the right thing to do. And that is justice. Right? How do we describe our country as? The nature of democracy is democracy, sovereign, secular, socialist, democratic republic. That is how we describe our country. What is the first principle on which you can say India is a democratic country? Free and fair election. So this free and fair election is under question, under threat, because the principles of natural justice, audi alteram partem, which is you don't have to remember this, but just whenever you hear this word, understand that it is about natural justice. This is a legal terminology. One of the very first point that you will read in law classes, like if you are doing LLB. So, now, who should protect the constitution, the principles? Guardian, Supreme Court. Now read the article. Published names of the 65 lakh excluded voters. Demands Supreme Court from Election Commission of India. The bench wants full list of excluded Bihar electors to be published with specific reasons. It says voters are not included in the draft roll can file their objections by applying with a copy of their Aadhaar. Did Election Commission of India allow Aadhaar? Now, does this mean that Supreme Court is involving itself? Yesterday you were asking, is this judicial activism or is this judicial overreach? Now tell me, is this overreach or activism? Activism. What is the difference between an overreach and activism? See, when legislatures are doing their job properly by following the due process of law, then judiciary need not involve. Is judiciary making law and passing? No. It is directing the government bodies, the constitutional bodies, to behave according to the principles established in the constitution. What is the first job of Election Commission? to ensure that everybody or as many as possible is included in the process of democracy, not exclude them. You're acting by structural logic itself, you're going against the very purpose with which you're existing. So, this is a structural disenfranchisement. Please note this word down. Structural disenfranchisement. No, that we've already discussed that Aadhaar is not a proof of citizenship. But having said that, do you have a proof of citizenship in this country? That is the contradiction. Correct. Election Commission, you mean? Yeah, that's the reason why Supreme Court asked. On what metrics are you saying that? See, there is a list of 11 documents. It includes birth certificate, where you have to register your birth at the and then come up with this. So, voter ID card previously, by default, we assume it as a proof of citizenship. But if you want to get a voter card, birth certificate. What if you don't have an institutional delivery, or if you did not register your birth, even if the child is born at home? You're not aware that you have to register your birth. Let's say 10 years later you decided that you have to register your birth. Now you're not sure if you're born in 2002 or 2000 or 1998 or 2004. You'll roughly calculate the age, whatever is comfortable to you, and register. Ideally, it is the responsibility of the state to do all this. Why are you putting the burden on citizens? Why not mandate registering every birth and death? Don't you think it's the responsibility of the government? It is. But is it actually happening in reality? No. Why? We don't have an answer. Now you come back to a state which has a per capita income of 55,000, nearly half of India's national average, where most of the people migrate. They don't have higher school education. Problems like casteism persist, where identity politics play a very major role. And in that kind of a society where democracy is even more needed, you are going to say 65 lakh voters should be excluded. Is it fair? By any standards, what is the intent of this whole activity? To remove illegal votes. Is it desirable? Yes, of course it's desirable. But is the due process clear? The very first step, voters should be recognized, is based on the idea that for every citizen, you have one vote. But who is a citizen here? We don't have an idea. We don't have an answer. That's exactly the point Supreme Court is asking. On what metric did you say that these documents are accepted, others are not accepted? You should allow the other parties to be heard. See, just like in history, if you don't have a conclusive evidence, we try to reconstruct history and give a benefit of doubt. Let's say you have no written record that so and so person existed in this time period. But what if you find a inscription? You may not find that in a book written by some famous poet of that time. But you find an inscription describing a person with certain qualities. You corroborate it with archaeological evidence, reconstruct the history, and then establish, okay, there might have been a person like this. You're giving a benefit of doubt. If you can give history so much benefit of doubt, we are talking about the present day reality. We are talking about people who do not have access to a square meal, proper nutritious food, and you are putting the burden of proof on this kind of population without even hearing them, without giving any alternative path. You're completely alienating them from democratic process. It is possible that ECI is right. There might have been indeed 65 lakh voters who are fake. But is this the method? Is this the due process of law that you should follow to remove people? No. You have to give people the benefit of doubt, because the very democratic logic says include as many people as possible so that better representation is taken care. This will be, if this is right, okay. But what if this is wrong? If even one eligible voter is excluded from this list, it is a threat to the democratic processes. You might be wondering, it's only one vote. How much of a difference will it make? What if someday you come to a realization that at least 60-70% of the voters here are eligible, but they were excluded. And an election happened. And in those 5 years, the destiny of that state has transformed forever in a way that does not represent a democratic voice. That is the importance of due process of law, following the principles of natural justice. And that's why the beauty of this constitution can be seen in things like this. Judiciary is such a powerful organ. It has its own set of problems. I'm not trying to say everything is flowery and rosy and things are great there. It has got its own set of problems. Judicial pendency. We have nearly 3 crore cases pending in various levels of courts. Supreme Court judges take a holiday, summer holidays. They go on a vacation. And if your case is languishing in courts for almost a decade or even more, you'll have to wait until the judges finish their vacation. Can we do that for governance? Can the disaster management authority deny taking action during floods because they're on a vacation? Then what makes judiciary think that it is okay to take a vacation? Of course, they're overburdened. Who is asking them to carry all the burden? Why not increase the strength of the bench or increase the number of judges, increase the infrastructure? If they can direct the courts to, the legislative houses to make laws on that, why not fix their own issues? But this is the beauty. Like, at least there is some level of accountability, and we should hope that arbitrary actions will not see the light of the day without judicial scrutiny. Clear? This example is can be used in your ethics also. How about that harm principle? What is that harm principle? Yeah. See, at the heart of the legal dispute over this special intensive revision of the electoral roll, the principle of natural justice, hearing out a person before deciding a case is at harm, to cause harm. So, the harm principle says that if a judicial action is causing harm, it better be according to the due process of law and the procedure established by law. In both procedural aspect as well as the spirit of the law. That is the importance of following procedures, rules, and laws. Clear? Fine. See, in this, I want you to take a look at this. Supreme Court in Lal Babu Hussain versus ERO, a 1995 case law, which is the focus of the current hearing, had divided electors into 2 categories. First time, see, this can be asked in prelims. That's why I'm focusing here. 2 categories: first time electors and existing electors. Please take down the name of this case. Lal Babu Hussain versus ERO. There are 2 categories of voters: first time electors and existing electors. What is the significance here? The Supreme Court held EC is not wrong to demand evidence of Indian citizenship from first time electors. So, what is the point of contention? It is not from first time electors. Now, there are existing electors. Let's say, for example, I have a voter card. On what basis did you give me a voter card? You did not ask a proof for the first time. I just gave one some certificate or something, but now it's gone. Not able to produce one. I lost my certificate. I applied. There is a procedural delay there. They're not giving me a certificate. I did not submit on time. Can you say, or I'm not even aware that I'm supposed to submit again. I will assume that it is only for first time electors. Now that you come and say that even existing voters should give the documents, did you ask everyone? Are you aware that something like this is happening? Maybe, maybe not. So, if you're a first time voter, when you want to give a voter card, when you submit an application, it's fair. You ask the proof. Fine. We all produced our 10th class certificates, which is considered a good enough proof. Because 10th class certificate or birth certificate is considered a proof of citizenship. Now you are getting a voter card. I got one. Now I lost it. Or I lost my certificate or birth certificate. Whatever the original document that I submitted, I lost it. So, will you remove my name? Was I heard? My argument will be, I was given a voter card. What changed now? Why are you taking my name away? I'm not even heard. Okay. So Supreme Court did not object. Please look at the logic. If I am demanding documents from the first timers, that is a usual process. There is nothing wrong in it. But I've already registered. I already have my name on the electoral roll. And now you are saying that you should submit again. Why? What were you doing before? Why did you give me a voter card in the first place if you think I'm wrongfully registered? Okay, some mistake happened on the institution part and they gave it away. And you think on the principle of national interest, which is the most important thing. It's the first thing that we should take care of. National interest first, sovereignty first. There might be illegal immigrants who wrongfully got. Is this the process? No, right? So that is what this article is saying.